Okay, let's watch this driver swing from face on. Pretty good setup. Notice we've got the aiming alignment rods set up. The aiming rod is the one that goes down the target line. The alignment rod shows you where you're going to place the ball based on your foot position. We've got the ball pretty far forward off the instep of the lead foot. And that allows him to get his head behind the ball. So we're going to watch the takeaway now. Nice takeaway. Getting a good rotation. Notice his head is moving way too much. His head is actually moving outside of his trail foot. So we need to keep the foot a little steadier. The head a little steadier. Then he's going to collapse and scoop at the ball because he's not turning. We want the whole lower body to turn with that golf club instead of being stuck like that and behind the shot. At this point now, at finish, his right hip should be over that alignment rod. It's up by his left heel, but it didn't make it. Right knee, right hip to the left knee. We have a new golfer here, and what we're going to watch is the movement of the head. One of the things we want to do in our golf swing is to maintain a fairly stable center core, which starts from our head and runs down through our tailbone. We want to pivot around that rather than moving that. What we're going to see is that she really moves the head a lot, collapses. Notice her hips are rotating almost as much as her shoulders, and then she's getting no wrist hinge at all. We want to keep the left foot planted so we actually develop some resistance or coiling around the right leg. Now she's going to go to the top, and the head hasn't moved yet, never got moved back to the spot of impact, so she ends up scooping the ball a little bit. Makes a great turn there, so she's physically able to make a great rotation and a wonderful finish. So if we can get her to finish like that every time, look at the hair flying. Isn't that cool? And balanced. Very nicely done. Just work on keeping your head a little quieter on the takeaway. Okay, it starts out as a pretty good setup. The ball could be a little bit further forward. Notice that it's off of her trail cheek rather than her forward cheek. What she's going to probably do here is tip over a little bit on the way back. Taking the shoulders, we need to get the right shoulder higher here. It's not getting behind her head. It's staying too low. Now she's tipped over. She doesn't have her butt behind her as much as she'd like. A little overswung right there on the backswing. Now she's coming down, maintaining the angle pretty good to there, and then starts losing it real early. Notice how the club is starting to pass her hands already. Now it's just about to pass the hands, and there it has. So what happens is she's going to scoop at that ball and miss it entirely because she's failing to maintain the solid lead left wrist, which is fundamental number 4 in the golf swing. Then good rotation there and good hip action. So we just need to get her to hold the lag a little longer, keep the left wrist firmer. Here we see a pretty good setup. Maybe could have the spine tilted a little bit more forward, but this looks pretty well balanced. Let's watch the takeaway. And instead of taking the left elbow straight back, we turn it out. That means we're not turning our shoulders down, we're turning them out. Then the left knee comes forward, which tells us that we've rotated the wrong part of our body. Pretty good at the top right there, elbows are down, the triangle's set pretty good. Again, like a lot of ladies, she's over flexible, so she swings too much. But here she comes way out over the top. See how the hands are going way forward? She needs to drop those hands from here. She needs to drop those hands straight down this line to keep the club from the outside. See how she goes way over the top and then tries to adjust. What she's going to do is cut across the ball. The ball's going to go out and off to the right. Okay, let's take a look, face-on view of this golfer. Pretty decent takeaway. Turning into the shot nicely. Then at the top of the backswing, the left arm is bent just a little too far. He's got great shoulder turn, fairly stable to the inside of his right leg. Coming down, starts losing the club lag a little early. Right there, he's casting the club from here to here. You can see that he's letting the club pass the hands, and he ends up with the right hand directly under the golf club, trying to lift the ball into the air. Then his left elbow sticks out behind him. He can't move anything but his head. His hips are stuck, and he flips at the ball. Okay, let's look at the takeaway here. Again, we want the head of the club to stay on the blue line or slightly below it, not very far below it. And what we're going to see is he takes the club back, Notice right away his left arm moves out away from his body. You see a big gap there. You can see light through that triangle. And the club gets stuck way behind him, way inside the line. When the club is parallel to the ground, it should also be parallel to the toe line. And he gets up to a pretty good position and manages to drop the club back into the slot. But because he's not using any leg muscles, you can see his left arm is going to fly out behind him. Let's clear the line out. You see the left arm is behind him instead of down. So he's not going to get the power that he would like to have. He doesn't turn onto his lead side till well after the swing. Okay, let's check the power line out here on this golfer. Draw a line down from his left shoulder down to his left foot. And we like to see the hip against that line too. So his hips are kind of out of position. We want to see the spine tilt a little bit away from the target and over the ball. So we're going to watch the takeaway here. The hips are moving away from the power line. They actually need to be staying on the power line more. And he's going to move into the power line. Not bad, but he stops moving right about there and then scoops the ball. And notice how the right side isn't moving into the power line and the left side is even moved away from it. That's a power robber. He never quite gets to the power line. Okay, as we watch this swing, let's see if this golfer maintains that spine angle, keeping the spine or the head kind of parallel to where that blue line is. Pretty good steady head right there. Pretty nice positioning going back, down and through the shot. Little lifting right there. So what he'll do is he'll block the shot out to the right. See that? That's because he's not able to rotate through the shot because he's stuck on his right side too much. Head's popping up out of the shot because he hasn't rotated the right knee towards the left knee, and he never gets onto the lead side. So he's going to pop those shots out to the right. What we see here are legs that are a little too straight. That puts the weight back on the heels, and it's going to create a flat swing. Let's see what happens. Yep, very flat swing. See how it's going way back to the inside? That's generally because your weight's too far on your heels. If it's on you too far on your toes, you get too vertical. And she's going to come in. She's dropping the club pretty nicely. Turns into the shot nice. Right on through and through the finish. We want her to stand tall like that, but we'd like to see a little more flex in the knees. Okay, let's see if this golfer can keep the club on the blue line or near the blue line. And we're really looking at the club head here. So we'll start the club back. Not bad here, just slightly below. Now right here, he's in a pretty good position, but you can see that he's got the club head a little shut. That means when he gets to the top, he's probably going to block it off a little bit. Now he's in a good position there, but he raised his head a little bit on the way back. See that right there? Now if you can just bring that club straight down that blue line, or under it, that's a good swing right there. Turns through the shot and up onto the right toe. Very good swing.